The actual Wall Street, in downtown Manhattan near the island's southern tip, is just 7/10 of a mile long and runs from Broadway and Trinity Church to the west and to South Street to the east. It used to be the thoroughfare that connected the East River to the Hudson. The interstitial role played by Wall Street remains as essential as ever. Wall Street was named after an actual wall, composed of 12-foot-high wooden logs that the Dutch inhabitants started building in April 1653 with the help of African slaves, as the northern border of their relatively small enclave. North of the wall was danger and hilly wilderness. The name Manhattan derives from Mannahatta, the Lenape Indian term for island of hills. The Dutch built the wall to protect themselves from the unknown. Indeed, years of fighting between the Dutch and various Native American tribes would be devastating to both sides. The Palisades, as the Dutch referred to the wall, separated what is today Wall Street from everything else to its north. It was 2,340 feet long, nearly half a mile. But by 1664, the Dutch had run out of gas in New Amsterdam and turned their colony over to the British, who promptly renamed it New York. In 1685, the British surveyors designed a street to run the length of the wall, from the East River to the Hudson, and by 1699, the British, now less fearful of the Native Americans than the Dutch had been, ordered the actual wall removed, leaving only a thoroughfare that stretched from one side of the island to the other, at one of its particularly narrow parts. The new street, now known as Wall Street, became New York's central artery of commerce. Few streets in the world are entitled to equal fame. Frederick Trevor Hill wrote in his 1908 gem, The Story of a Street. In the annals of American history, it holds a place apart. Small merchants established themselves along the street to sell their wares, and over time this came to include the sale of stocks and bonds, a form of borrowed money that was still a new concept at the time, of fledgling local companies. Also for sale on Wall Street were slaves. According to the New York Historical Society, the slave trade in New Amsterdam began in the 1620s, 1626 to be exact, less than 2 years after the Dutch landed in New Amsterdam. After a Dutch ship captured a Spanish or Portuguese vessel with a largely African crew. Often the crews of captured ships were killed, but in this instance the Dutch brought the crew to New Amsterdam, where it was placed in servitude to the Dutch West India Company. The company's calculus was a simple and cruel one, alas. It needed laborers to build out the colony of New Amsterdam, to build the fort that is now Battery Park, to build homes, and to build the wall that became Wall Street. But New Amsterdam was not a particularly hospitable place to live, and so attracting Dutch workers to cross the Atlantic was not so easy. The better way, it seemed, to get the labor the Dutch West India Company needed was to enslave it. Charitably, the New York Historical Society described the Dutch's enslavement of Africans as New Amsterdam's first public works department. They cut the road that became Broadway, it explained. They built the wall for which Wall Street is named. Without their work, the colony of New Amsterdam might not have survived. Soon enough, individual colonists owned slaves. In fact, according to the Historical Society, the colony became the largest slave-holding city in the northern colonies. For 51 years, between 1711 and 1762, Wall Street housed the colony's well-established slave market in a wooden shed hard on the East River, allowing for immediate trading once boats carrying the people from Africa or the Caribbean tied up at the docks. At any one time, 50 slaves could be found being bought and sold in the structure. The sordid practice was ended in 1762, and the shed eventually torn down, apparently because the structure was blocking views to the river and lowering property values. Wall Street housed the colony's more noble aspirations as well. In 1699, stones removed from the footings of the original wall were used for the foundation of what became, a year later, New York's first city hall, at 26 Wall Street. Not surprisingly, City Hall, built at a cost of more than £4,000, was at the heart of Wall Street. In it there was a courtroom, a jury room, the Common Council chamber, a jail, a library, the first in New York, consisting of 1,642 books that had once been the collection of the Reverend John Millington, a debtor's prison, and the offices of the fire department, whose water was supplied from 2 wells, also dug on Wall Street. Directly across from City Hall, on Broad Street, lay the stockade, meant to be a living, breathing symbol to the colonists of the fate that awaited bad behavior.